We're now going to move on to the variables lesson. Variables allow you to keep track of things in your code. More specifically, variables can be used to store any type of data that you wish. The next tutorial will provide a very thorough understanding of what variables are, how they work, and how to create them. But first, we want to look at where in our code we create the variables that we'll be using. If you haven't already, let's open back up our lab master source code file. If we remember back to our Netlink standard template file that we started out with, it created many different sections to get us started. We jumped around a little bit, but we already covered define device, define constant, define mutually exclusive, define event, and define program. Now, let's scroll down from the top until we reach the define variable section. As a brief side note, the section directly above the define variable section is the define type section. We will not be covering this topic in this Programmer 1 curriculum. That is a more advanced topic that you will learn about in Programmer 2. Getting back to the define variable section, underneath this keyword called define variable, you can create as many variables as you need in your code. The variables that are defined here are considered global variables. Simply put, a global variable can be referenced anywhere in your code. For example, say you have a conference room with a sound system. If a user changes the volume in the room, you would create a variable in this section to store that volume level. Then, in a completely separate block of code, you can reference that variable, which is storing the current level, and then do something with it, like send it to a volume slider on a touch panel. Because it's a global variable, it's available anywhere you wish. Once again, the next tutorial will dive much deeper into variables. The last thing I want to talk about is the difference between the define constant section and this define variable section. So far in this course, we've defined quite a few constants. In a way, a constant is no different than a variable. They both are containers that store some data. The big difference, though, is that a constant needs to have its value defined when it's declared, and it cannot change. A variable is just another container whose value can be changed any time. Therefore, you don't even need to assign it a value when you create it. So remember earlier on we created a screen up constant and gave it a value of 2 and a screen down constant with a value of 3? These values will always be 2 and 3. A variable, on the other hand, its value can change at any time, like our volume example from a minute ago. If we create a variable called room volume, we won't assign it a value when we create the variable, but anytime the volume changes in that room, the piece of audio equipment will send a string to the control system, and through string parsing, you'll be able to assign the current audio level to the variable. We'll learn more about string parsing a bit later on. For now, let's dive deeper into variables and see how to create and use them.